2026 draft national budget. But it is a perfect coincidence because we speak at a time the MCC, that's the Millennium Challenge Corporation, released scorecards of many countries, including Liberia. We will touch on that as well. This interview is being relayed on a couple of radio stations, including Prime FM 105.5, Punch FM 106.5, Joy FM 101.5, and a host of community radio stations across the nation. Social media coverage include Front Page Africa Facebook Live, Matchage Television, Facebook Live, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning Facebook page as well, and Lina, that's the Liberia news agency Facebook Live. Of course, we are live on the Liberia National Television Facebook page as well. Minister Gaffron, again, a pleasure to speak with you. It's very critical time of our country. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Van, and I will be remiss if I didn't say congratulations.
For what?
You know it. But it's good to be back, and please extend my greetings and regards to the Honorable DG, Honorable Eugene Fagon, and wish him all the best. And the team of deputies and directors, all of you that have been doing great job expanding services at the state's broadcaster. We are proud of what you are doing, and our job is to backstop you. Thank you. It's good to be back in your studio.
Great. Before coming on air, planning this interview, when I invited you, we were specifically to talk about the draft national budget. But coincidentally, last evening we received the release of the MCC scorecards for countries, including Nigeria. There are several indicators. You're quite aware of the MCC scorecards because you've been there before. You understand everything. First of all, tell us about the importance of the scorecards. Then, before we delve into the various indicators.
Thank you, Afle. We received the scorecard. The MCC team sent me a confidential copy of the scorecard last week, and I shared.
So you received beforehand publication?
Yes, definitely. Shared with the president while we were in the UAE, and that they were waiting for the time to publish, and we couldn't release the scorecard until they published it yesterday officially. And we are happy that we've made the pass. The minimum you need to pass is half of the scorecards.
Okay.
So before the scorecards, the indicators, half of the indicators rather, the indicators were 20. Now the indicators have been increased to 22. So you need to pass a minimum of 11.
Okay.
To pass, but there are one or two hard indicators. What they call control of corruption, and now they call it control of corruption and accountability. Okay. It's a hard indicator. It means that you can pass 21 of the indicators. If you don't pass this, you fail. Yes.
So this carries high mark.
High mark.
Control of corruption.
It is what we call, a necessary condition for passing. Now they've increased the hard indicators to 2. Before it was only control of corruption. They've put in personal freedom. So you see up here, if you look, so those two.
It is under the bracket of ruling justice.
Yes, those two items, those two indicators are hard, meaning you can pass every other thing. If you fail those two indicators, meaning if you pass 20 indicators and fail these two, you fail. So you must pass these and pass others. But the minimum you need to pass 10 11 indicators now, before it was 10.
Okay.
So we've crossed that benchmark. This is important because to qualify for a second compact, you must have passed the MCC indicators.
The scorecard.
Yeah, yes, the scorecard. You must be deemed as, that you have passed. If you fail, you lose your case for a second compact. Or once you're on a compact or trajectory, you must consistently pass. So the reason that the country must be happy is that this puts us on the path of consideration. We've had a bumpy road with the MCC over the past year. Last year in December, under the back.
When you say bumpy roads, I mean failures.
No, bumpy road. Just let me explain the bump. Last year in December, Liberia was selected for eligibility for the second compact by the MCC board. You know, the country celebrated. And we were discussing now, the MCC team came in January. We were discussing in fact, we had started the plans to hire professionals that would have manned the MCC office to come and produce what we call a constraints and growth analysis. We were to hire a private sector a specialist, gender specialist, a contingent of almost 10 top-notch professionals. We put out the ad, and we're recruiting for just 2 positions first. One, the national coordinator of the MCC office, and the chief economist, top-notch Liberians from all across the world apply. We had almost 170 applicants, But before we could even start, the new administration came, transition in the American government, and the entire MCC thing was put on pause. The USAID, because everything is controlled by the US government, there was a cancellation, practical cancellation, shutdown of the entire USAID support system package, besides 5 out of 29 projects, that the country have been implementing under USAID. Almost all the projects besides 5 were left to continue. So in terms of aid, amounts lost because of the USAID pull down, more than 300 million. Then the MCC, that we were declared, as a country for eligibility, put on pause. So it was a double whammy for the country. It was a double whammy. The Trump administration put the MCC under the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. So they have been reviewing it to see what to do. After the review, I think in July, the MCC dropped 16 countries completely, including some of our neighbors. I wouldn't call their name. But Liberia stayed in the game. We've been engaging when President Boakai.
That means hope was still alive.
Hope was still alive. When President Boakai visited the U.S. upon the invitation of President Donald Trump, he was not only, as I usually say, with some slight humor, he was not only speaking good English. People were saying, what did he bring back? But a lot of engagements. We had engagements with the MCC. In fact, I was leading the MCC engagement. So, foreign minister was deployed here. I was deployed there, and the president was giving us guidance. We engaged the MCC team, and we resuscitated. And it was that engagement that led to the visit of the MCC delegation in September. You saw a visit. They came and they met various actors in government, private sector, including journalists. And then when we were in the States with the president, the MCC visited and we had some engagement.
Mm.
I led a Liberian delegation to the annual meetings of the World Bank and the IMF. One of the most substantive meetings we had was the meeting with the MCC. The MCC invited the Liberian delegation who went to their office, and this was just about a month ago. And most of the sectoral leaders, including the Minister of Public Works, former Minister of NNJ, LEC, NAFA, everyone was there. And we had substantive engagement. And we came from there very hopeful about Liberia. But we could not talk about that because of the shutdown. All our engagement with the American government actors, including the Assistant Secretary of Treasury, we did not talk about it because
there are lapses in the
now we can say this. We are on track. The MCC board is meeting in December to decide about Liberia's eligibility. The new board, under the new administration, will meet in December to reaffirm possibly Liberia's eligibility. If that happens, then what the next thing is they will then unveil, maybe at the board meeting or subsequently, the amount that Liberia will benefit from under the new compact.
Okay.
And then we start implementation.
So this particular pass in this scorecard is a very good leader to the December meeting.
Had we failed, we wouldn't have even been on a December
But
agenda.
I want to bring certain indicators to your attention, Minister. Say, for example, government effectiveness. If you feel government effectiveness and rule of law, and you celebrating, I mean, why are we celebrating? If you feel in government effectiveness and the rule of law.
Let me say this to you. The MCC, these things are relative, right? There are other countries around. I told you that it dropped 16 countries. 16 countries. I don't want to call some of the it's not a neighboring country, but some countries Liberians love to tout for this and that. They drop them. Liberia is beating a lot of countries, but Liberians don't appreciate themselves sometimes. So this does not mean, if you have a tough test,
Child health, for example, best primary education completion rate.
It does not mean what they do relative
natural resource protection.
What they do relative. No, when they say fail, let me give you something. They grade you on the curve. They grade you on the curve, meaning relative to others. For one subject, I attended graduate school in the US, and the grading system is that you can score 90 and still fail. It sounds, counterintuitive, right? You score 90. When you're leaving from here, they give you a test score or test, and when you score 90, you think it's an A. When they're grading you on the curve, or 90 who make you to fail. Why? Because others are scoring 99. They put everybody on the curve and say, where are you on this curve? If you're in the bottom category, you fail. In my graduate school I attended, I think bottom 10% of the class must fail. So it's like you study hoping that your friends are not studying. So no matter what you do, and you can have a score, you can have a situation where you score 50, you score 50 in a test and score A because every other person is scoring below you. So that's the clear rating. Part of what you do is assess against what others are doing. So many others did better in this one than we did. So that's how our ranking for this school is lower. It does not mean we are not trying on that in those indicators. We're going to do more. You see some of the indicators, the health expenditure and others, before they were not good, now they are up. So government takes this, we celebrate the indicators, but we take cue from the message here. We're taking action.
Yeah, that's the commitment I wanted to
But no, we take cue. But it's not to say that we are woeful. No. as I was talking about the curve, you can take actions. If the other countries that are assessed in the pool do better, materially better than you drop. So that's how the grading is. It's not just the normal nominal grading system.
So this is the second scorecard for this government.
Yes, this is second, and we continue to keep it in the pass
So
category.
the first one we passed.
Yeah, we passed. I mean, yes. As I said, only once you are on the track of a compound, you fail, you drop. So this is critical because I'm talking about the board meeting for consideration
in December.
In December, when the board members of the MCC meet, they're going to say the first thing is, did the Liberia pass? Have we failed? Drop the case. They wouldn't even go to discuss anything else. So now we can be discussed.
Is there going to be a cabinet discussion on these indicators that Liberia failed in? Say, for example, trade policy, access to credit, employment opportunity. We've talked about job creation, business startup, workforce development, natural resource. Is there going to be a cabinet discussion on these indicators where the country failed?
There will be cabinet discussion on every indicator, because even where you pass, you must continue to pass. So it's not a thing to say you pass, you're going to be celebrating this indicator. I pass, I'm out of the woods. No. So where we pass, we must continue to pass. Where we did not score, the kind of grade that we wanted, we will take action. The cabinet will definitely meet on this. So
you saw hopeful of Liberia's eligibility in December by the MCC.
Well, the U.S. government and the MCC board will decide. Let me give them the benefit of the doubt. But I want to say to Liberians that the president and the government either coordinate our engagement in MCC. We've done our parts, and we are confident of what we've done. We leave it to the board and allow the board to make a decision. But as I said, we are inching closer. We are inching closer, and that's all I can say.
To a compact.
We are inching closer.
If a compact is approved, where are the areas? So I've asked this question before. Where are the areas that money will go?
Well, when the team came here, when the MCC team came here and spent 2 weeks engaging every stakeholder, reviewing reports, team of top-notch economists, it was again agreed that the two top constraints to growth, lack of energy, and then infrastructure.
Which one is number one?
Energy. So that's why you see why we continue to talk energy, infrastructure, especially rural infrastructure. We have other infrastructure that we must deal with, port infrastructure and other things. Because we have structural impediments. When we say structural impediments to growth and employment, it means to solve the problem, you must solve these things. So, because why we say energy, I told you this before and I will repeat. One of the main constraints to business growth and profitability is the high cost of power. When people are spending more for generator fuel or gasoline, their businesses are constrained. If you talk to many small business people, that is the main constraint to their business profitability. If you get lower cost of power, extended service business can happen. A businessman that operates few hours operate double the hours he or she is operating now. But what does that mean? That business person can expand the business. If the business is being expanded, how do you expand your business? You hire people. When you get profitable, you start thinking of branches and what have you. So that's why energy is very important. Roads, very, very important. I usually repeat what the Chinese say. The road to development begins with the development of roads. So you see us being laser focused on roads. You see what is happening on the Ganta Hapa. People now are moving. Even in the rainy season, NTA buses were going. We're not going to stop.
The public works minister says that by 2029 we will have quota from Ganta to Hapa. Do you share that thought, that projected timeline?
You know, the public works minister
will not have it on the record.
The public works minister will not say that without hearing from the finance minister. It's because I told him that, and he's confident, and so that's why he's saying that. Because we're lining up the financing, and from what I see and from what I said, besides that, we're going to connect many other places. So it is not rhetoric, it's action. It's not rhetoric. So we'll talk less, we'll do more. So see what is going to happen next year.
Okay. Let's come to the envelope that will propel, that particular development, that road development you're talking about, Ganta to Maryland. I will read something from the budget. The fiscal year 2026, I mean, this is from the Ministry of Finance. The fiscal year 2026 budget is backed by a projected resource envelope of 1.2 billion, 1.211 billion US dollars. A significant 37.5% increase over the fiscal year 2025 approved budget. Means we were in million. I mean, I was a one person thinking that the million to billion would be an illusion. Now it is a reality. The growth reflects, according to the Ministry of Finance, a turning point in domestic revenue performance, driven by stronger collections from income taxes, the goods and services tax, as the GST, and international trade duties. I know you're not from the LRA, but you work closely with the double JALA and all that. Where do you think the government work to close maybe loopholes in revenue collection that increase the budget from million to billion before we delve into some of the key issues?
Oh, lovely. You know, when we unveiled the budget and people heard billions, some of them got nervous, some of them started to doubt, some of them started to criticize. That is natural. We understand that. But we've proven that doubters can doubt, critics can criticize. That hasn't stopped us from hitting target. We are meticulous people. We did not project just for PR stunt. If you see how we've been moving from domestic revenue growth, 2022, according to the LRA, I think 2022 in Liberia got, I think, 614, if I'm not mistaken. The 2023 we dropped. In 2024, in terms of domestic revenue, we collected almost 700 million in 2024. That was the highest amount of domestic revenue ever raised in this country's history. Last year, that happened. So, see, it's almost, let's say, 85 million jump in 1 year. There are a lot of things we are doing. One of the main things that you're going to see is that we are digitizing processes, efficiency in revenue collection, using electronic fiscal devices. So there's going to be, and we're investing heavily in the LRA. LRA activity is going to expand. We're going to give them logistics, places they didn't reach, they will reach there, and tax loopholes, leakages, going to be closed. They're going to do more tax audits, and there are other things that are happening because of the expanded economy. Trade is improving. See, I mean, just I call them ABC indicators. When you see many containers coming out of the port, you don't have to be an economist to know that the economy is expanding. If you go in the night, now the port is even operating in the night, you will see trucks and trucks line up from the free port sometimes to Looking Town, entering in the night. What do you think happening? The economy is expanding, businesses are improving, and government is incentivizing. So we project a 5.4% GDP growth. But besides that, some of the efficiencies that we are putting in the system heavily. We know what is happening just this year based on what we've done. And by next year, some of those things will have gone full throttle. So from where I sit, we are on target. We'll meet the revenue projection. We'll cross the billion. And let me see, in the 1.211 billion revenue envelope, we have a one-time injection that we expect to come from a signature bonus from a town, which is 200 million. And people have been thinking that, what happens if you don't get it again? So that's why we have, in terms of allocating, we've allocated that amount to projects primarily.
Is it reflected in this draft?
Yes, but when you take off the 200 million, you are left with 1,011 million.
Yeah.
So with or without Metal, we have crossed the $1 billion threshold. And once we cross this threshold, we do not intend to take backslides. And from what I see, and from what we will do, Liberia can only go up. Liberia can only go up.
So you're saying 1.211 2026, it could increase to 1.6 something in 2027?
Let me say this.
Because we're raising our hope yet.
Let me say this. We are not expecting a one-time signature bonus from Metal every year. No, it's one time. So there is this influx of money, I don't say input, that is coming one time. So it is an outlier. So you take it off. The normal revenue growth is going to happen. Next year could be a little below 1.2 because we may not have that amount of injection, but we are going to be growing organically. The organic budget is 1,011 million. That's the organic budget. Assume that Metal was not there, we're above $1 billion.
Yeah.
We'll grow that amount. We could go above 1.2, or we could go slightly higher. So in grading next year, you take off the one-time injection from Metal. Yeah. So we expect growth above the 1 billion, the 1,011 million.
Okay. Before we come to the details in the budget, do we expect the budget the draft, if approved, to increase or decrease after approval?
You mean after legislative engagement?
Yes.
Well, the budget is now in the hands of the legislators, the people's representatives. And that, but if you use historical trend, I don't know which year, I don't know whether there has been any year when the budget went to the legislature and that the budget came in an amount that was lower or the same as it went.
So it always went up.
It always went up. If you go by the historical trend, you can expect it to go up. How much more? We will only be saying to the legislators, and it's good that we have a good working relationship with the legislature, the Senate, and the members of the House, that we cannot do anything to injure the credibility of the budget.
Okay.
You see the budget? You see this big boat?
Big.
It's big.
Is it because it's billion?
No, listen. No. So if I should have brought a video pages.
Because last year when we saw the million, it was much more.
So, but yeah, services have expanded. But you see, all you see here, you don't see money, right?
Yeah, it's all pages.
You see pages. So as I told somebody, they were asking me, what is your budget? I was teaching a budget course at university some years ago. I decided to poke the creativity of my students. What is the budget? All kinds of sophisticated explanation. I said, no, at the end of the day, the budget is just a conglomeration of sheets. That's it. But why do we believe this sheet? Why is everybody talking about this conglomeration of sheets? Because the projection, the estimates there are estimates that are done in thorough ways that the country can believe that we'll raise the money. We haven't raised the money yet, but this is our projection that we'll raise the money. Okay. So not a dime of this has been raised. That's how budget is. It's a plan. It's a plan on the revenue side. Next year, we plan to get this. So there will be action. Not only the LRA, other revenue generating entities. So that's why we incentivize it. We're not giving more money to LRA alone. All revenue generating entities, we're giving them money so that they can hit their targets. So we'll raise the money and then we spend. So we do not expect people, it's easy. If you want to do stuff, you could just increase the size of the budget to maybe 2 billion. If we want to just increase the size of the budget, we just go. But what we will have done to the budget, we will injure the credibility of this budget. Then when we talk about budget, you guys will not believe us again. The way you treat this budget with this level of secretness, that will evaporate. So that's why we are meticulous. So even with the legislators, there will be a back and forth engagement with the legislators. There's always what I usually tell them: you can find this, we'll talk, we'll argue, or let us ensure that whatever we land with, that at the end of the day, we'll raise the revenue, because these things put expectations on the expenditure side. Once you are in the budget, LBS is in the budget for some amount, there's an assumption that some people will feel that we have the money in the bank. So you just ask for it and we should give it. So we must raise it on the left hand to give it on the right hand.
Yeah. Let's come to the details, Minister. If you just joined us, you're listening to the Super Morning Show. This morning, we're having conversation with the Minister of Finance and Development Planning. A couple of issues to talk about. We've talked about the MCC, the scorecard. We've made sense of it. Liberia passed. Still pin the minister down on some of the issues, some of the indicators that we feel, and I think we need to pass them, especially the issue of rule of law and government effectiveness. Minister, they say the details, the devil can be in the details. The government has the development plan called the Arrest Agenda for Inclusive Development. And there are a couple of sectors that underpin the Arrest Agenda. Talk about roads, agriculture, education, sanitation, tourism, and all of that. Is the budget tied to the National Development Plan?
Oh, definitely. That's why in crafting the budget, the first instrument we look at, we anchor the budget around is the National Development Plan. We crafted a development plan. We costed at 8.34 billion. So, and government's contribution towards the actualization of the development plan has been increasing. Let me tell you something about this budget. Domestic revenue represents now 94% of the budget.
I see that here.
External revenue is just 6%. 172 million we expect from externals. So whereas in this new day of declining overseas development assistance that is called ODA, where partners and donors are receding, the government is generating more for itself. That is a positive indicator.
That's a self-reliance.
Yes. That is before, sometimes the donor support used to be as high as almost 30% of the budget. Not just 6%. So, and we intend to continue on this path that will generate for the Liberian people domestically to spend on the Liberian people and for the priorities of the state. Now, coming to some of the key sectors.
Yeah.
As I said, the road sector continues to dominate. And there's a reason. I told you the reason before. Besides the normal amount of almost 60 million we put in Public Works budget for road expansion and other things, we gave in the Ministry of Public Works or the road sector an additional 50 million. You know, in the metal one-time injection, this is what we did. 100 million of that amount, we allocated just two sectors. Roads, 50, energy, 50. Then we have the counties that are in the metal catchment area. You're talking about Nimba, you're talking about Grand Bassa, you're talking about Bong. We gave them almost 14 million, in addition to their normal county development, social development fund, in addition. So, and then there's a line called County Development Agenda. County Development Agenda for all counties. They're going to, these three counties will get from that line again. So they have their normal social development fund, they have their normal county development fund. Last year we introduced something called CDA funding for the counties. So these counties, all counties are going to get CDA funding. There are also district development money. So when you put the entire package money that goes directly to the counties, I think more than 30 million in this budget. We gave 50 million, and one of the main things that the Public Works intends to do, the road from here to Sierra Leone is critical for growth. So it is one of the roads that you may see money going to in other roads in the Public Works package. I will allow Giddings to give you the details. The other 50 million to LEC is targeting of critical project, smart metering. LEC has found out there's something that is affecting LEC's expansion. It is huge commercial loss. Out of every dollar that LEC could get, LEC just gets 53 cents.
Is it due to power theft or?
Power theft and all kinds of leakages in the system. Okay. To correct that and to increase stability of supply, the smart metering will ensure that LEC can collect almost 95 cents of a dollar. So we are putting enough money in their smart metering project. They will expand electricity access. It will reduce eventually the cost. We intend to, what this will translate into stability in the dry season. So we deliberate, and this is in addition to all the other things we're doing for the LEC. And then we're giving an extra 6 million to the University of Liberia for renovation and some rehabilitation works. We can go down the line. You will see the judiciary. People don't talk about what has happened. The judiciary budget jumps for by almost 8 million. Construction of courts across the country, digitizing records. So the Supreme Court is one of the main beneficiaries of this. There's going to be the health sector, county health facilities all around. Most of them have, we get injections, including what we're going to do at TNRMA and others. So in the education sector,
is the new Redemption Hospital capital? We're hearing something like
yes. Good. Okay.
I mean, that's a private entity. I was thinking, I mean, it makes sense of why are they included?
Okay, I think a month ago, you heard that there was demonstration of nurses and health workers at EAWA. And some people were blaming government. They didn't know that there's a private hospital. The Minister of Health went there to quell the situation. But there are hospitals that are private, but their contribution to the state is public. We've been subsidizing Phoebe Hospital for years. Phoebe Hospital is a private hospital. but they've been in the budget for years. So what are we doing now? If we sit there and say, you know what, don't support Phoebe, you know what's going to happen. So the government, the president, and has directed, and the government will do beginning next year, because that hospital is challenged when it comes to resources. We cannot allow ELWA hospital to close here because they cannot bankroll the salaries of staff. So one of the good things of this budget is that by next year, the government is going to take up the salary obligation of health workers at ELWA. And by next year, I think by January or February, we are going to be dedicating the new Redemption Hospital. This project started in 2016 in the past UP government. It delayed, but we are at a point of completion. We have included monies in this budget for the new staff. They're going to recruit more people, but they will need equipment. So we have put money in this budget to make sure that once the hospital starts operation, they are not going to be out of funds to continue. So we could go on and on, but the budget has gone deep and wide in terms of the impact. So people talk about the impact. See what's going to happen across the country, in the education sector, in the health sector, in the work sector, in the energy sector. More and more things are going to happen, and I will unveil them later as well.
I want you to unveil them, because there's a particular contention about the budget that has to do with bulk of the budget goes towards salary payment. I'm seeing here, for example, public administration sector receives 145.80 million, supporting core government functions like employee compensation, debt servicing, and legal obligation. Tell us about the recurrent aspect of the entire budget.
So, and there's something, it's good you ask this question, because there is this thing about the public sector investment plan, PSRP, versus recurrent. And so people will come and say, oh, this is just going to consumption, the salaries. 76% of the budget. Last year, it's been dropping before. I think it's been historically almost around 90%. We're taking the PSRP, the public sector investment plan, from about 107 million to 281 million next year.
Is it reflected in this budget?
Yes, it's reflected. 281 million goes to projects. Just projects.
Those projects include what?
I'm talking about the 50 million for 2 roads extra, and this is extra money. Extra
from the ministry's budget.
Okay. In fact, we've started to fund the financing obligation for the purchase or the procurement of the yellow machines. We started this year. This budget has payments that we will make. So, and the public works minister, the honorable vice president will lay out, but we on course on the yellow machines, and this budget is faithful to that. So I could go on and on. So the recurrent, one of the things that's in the recurrent portion of the budget is debt service. And let me tell you about debt service. Liberia's total debt stock is about 2.7 billion now.
Inclusive of domestic
debt. Domestic debt is about 1.08 billion. I repeat, what we owe domestically, 1.08 billion.
Yeah, I'm saying it, representing 40.2%.
Good.
Of the portfolio.
So once the PFM law says the first claim on revenue is debt service, meaning when you owe people, you should pay. That is foundation of the government's credibility. Now, on a recurrent, we have 230 million for debt service. Yes, whereas the budget size is increasing, our debt service obligation is increasing.
But there was an audit of the domestic debt by the GAC.
Yes, but that audit,
and the recommendations were made.
Yeah, that audit on net has increased the debt stock.
I thought it reduced it.
No.
Because I spoke with the auditor general. I mean, we look at the figure in US is 700 something million.
Listen, there were claimants that we had not put on the debt stock. That, it's like to be validated to get on the debt stock. These claimants wanted to be validated. So the auditor general, when he reviewed the whole claim, he found out that a good chunk of those claimants were not legitimate. But he validated, I've forgotten the figure. Those that have been validated were added on the debt stock. So the debt stock is increasing. It will have increased higher at the auditor general not invalidated some of those claims. So our debt stock is increasing. So on net, it hasn't decreased.
Does it require another audit?
Well, we'll always be auditing. In fact, let me say this, and one of the I was talking about media debt. I will come back to the debt issue. Government historically has been owing the media, and for me, it's an anomaly that we'll have to correct. You can have a situation where Jahim works, we owing small businesses, Front Page and others, Data Observer. Government can pay for services rendered 4 or 5 years. And I was told there were some big entities, including Front Page, sorry that I'm picking on you, that when the Auditor General did his validation, they did not present their claims. And so there was a cutoff. But I've succeeded in getting the Auditor General to agree that those media folks who did not bring up their claim during the period, that the Auditor General is going to create a window for the Front Page, the Data Observers, and others that were not validated to carry your claim. We receiving them, we'll send to the Auditor General. Once the Auditor General validates, we intend to put the media entity on a fast track of payment. And we've said that all obligations, current year obligation to the media, we are tracking it. We don't want them to transition into domestic debt. Once you get into domestic debt, the payment goes through a lot of rigidities. So all claimants are making it public now. If any one of you have done legitimate business for government,
and this is for the media.
For the media.
So this is a goodwill gesture for the media. Can we tell me
rather goodwill? We're doing that. It's not.
I mean to reduce the bureaucracy.
That's what we should do. It's not goodwill. Media is entitled. It's not. We should do this not just for the media. I'm just emphasizing this because I see you here. But now coming to the debt.
Yeah, let's go back to the debt.
Coming back to the debt stock, we have 230 million in this budget to service our debt. We have to pay the interest. We have to pay principals. Liberia has been contracting debt. And let me not demonize debt. When you say debt, people get a little bit, scared. But as I was saying at the Ministry of Information the last time, if you business people, how do they finance business? People that intend to grow things for development, where do they go? They go to banks to get loan. So when you're going to take the loan looks good, right? Yes. Now, if you use the loan productively, the loan will build you a house, will expand your business, you get profitable, you expand. So the loan is not a problem. It's how you use it. So debt is not our problem. So it's how we use the debt. So over time, you will see debt stock increasing. Do not just demonize the size. Ask, where are we putting the debt? That's why in our debt management strategy, we are focusing on this. There is a threshold we look at now. We are looking at the economic and social return on a debt, because the big calculation we do is debt to GDP ratio. I think for Liberia now we have 56. Once you reach 60, the red light starts to blink. But the denominator is GDP. If we take debt, and because of how we productively use debt, we increase GDP, the denominator increases. And if you know your elementary arithmetic, if the denominator increases and the numerator doesn't increase as much as the denominator, the quotient will fall. So the debt will help you to even decrease your debt to GDP ratio. So we are doing what we call prudent debt management. One of the things we did, the government owes the commercial banks humongous sums of money through treasury bonds and other things. The interest the government was paying on commercial bank debt was around 12%. We negotiated this year. We negotiated a fall in the interest rate to government to 8%. So part of our debt management strategy is restructuring debt, looking at the interest rate. So in this year, next year's budget, we're talking about almost 89 million to be paid to commercial banks. Okay. You say, why do you pay the commercial banks? Why did we credit from them? And then if others don't pay, we will pay, because that keeps the bank stable. If the bank gets stable, if Vafle Camara goes to take a personal loan, they can give it. So we could injure monetary stability by being by not being good creditor. The central bank, we must continue to pay our obligations to the central bank. And one of the places, let me repeat, I said that before, one of the debt to the central bank we pay is this. There was an $83 million loan that was taken from the central bank in 2023. What did the money purportedly go for? To pay salaries in November and December of 2023. This government has been paying. In this year's budget, just for your horses, in this year's budget, we have to put $16 million in this year's budget towards payment of the 83 million.
What's the balance now?
The balance?
Yeah, if this 16 million you put in the budget, if they go toward that, what's the balance? How long?
Well, it was 83 million. It was 83 million.
Is this the first time you're paying for?
No, I mean, they did it in 2023, 2023. In 2025, we put 16 million. This year, the central bank is obligating us to put another 16 million. Okay. You know, we agree on the amount, but we're going to be paying on the years.
But the commitment is there.
The commitment is there. So we cannot say that we will not pay our debt. So in the recurring costs, we're talking about huge recurring costs. 230 million of the recurring costs goes to domestic debt. So those that demonize recurring costs, if you don't understand and deconstruct the figure, you'll be saying that we shouldn't pay our debt. Let me talk about recurring costs again. Like the University of Liberia. The government, in this year's budget, we are giving the university almost 34 million. You know where most of that money goes? Almost 90% of the money we give the university, you know where it goes? To payment of salaries of teachers or professors. It is recurring. So those who demonize recurring, should we say that we should take off that amount of money? So,
but we should be able to strike a balance between
salaries
and actual development.
But it's development. Let me talk about development. Development, if you pay salaries for teachers, that development. If you pay salary for health workers, that development. Do not have a myopic notion of development spending. If we keep you here, you performing this service all across to the country, gasoline for your facilities in Nimba and other places, when we make sure that you can run, it is recurrent, but it's development. We gave it all these community colleges, we gave them something called grant. It's a lump sum figure called grant. In the grants are not recurrent. But the money we're giving to Nimba Community College, is it not developmental? The money we're giving to Lofa Community College, the money we're giving to Tubman University is not developmental. It's on a grant, and grant is on a recurrent. So those that just do this superficial analysis, the spending is no. Okay. So if you say in the 76%,
no, Minister, that is understood because we have a bigger public sector. You know, almost everybody works for government.
It is not just payment of salaries. It's not just there's a good chunk.
Okay.
There's a good chunk of money that goes under the rubric called grant. Huh? Grant and subsidies. We subsidize some hospitals, we just give them one, you'll just see it on one line. And that line is under recurrent. But the spending that those hospitals do, they are developmental. Okay. So to conclude on this, do not just look at the PSRP recurrent split and say government is spending money just on salaries.
Okay, Minister, let's come to, we've dealt with the budget. Let's come to visits and returns. In the budget, of course, 94.1% is expected to come from domestic sources, a clear sign of a growing national capacity and reduced dependence on external aid. The remaining 5.9% will be sourced from development partners, including the IMF, African Development Bank, and the European Union, reinforcing Liberia's credibility and alignment with global fiscal standards. Visits of the past and visits now, and their returns. Recently you were in Paris with the president. You met President Emmanuel Macron. The CDC people argued and they contend your visit that former President Weah went and got 10 million and and some commitments from President Macron for youth development. He also made some visits to the US. Let's compare and contrast this government's visit, President Baka's visit, and former President Weah's visit.
No,
and the returns.
I came here as Minister of Finance of Liberia. We don't want to get dabble in the politics of things, but I'm going to give you this. See these visits. Some visits are to consolidate a foundation. And then when you have a strong foundation, the superstructure is built. Okay, I gave you one. When President Baka visited the US and at the invitation of President Trump, where he quote unquote spoke good English, many people were saying, oh, he just went to speak English. Where was the return? Just about a month ago, people were celebrating 3-year extension of the visa for Liberians. Many people can link, they can link that visit to the 3-year. So the outcomes of visits come over time. A lot of good things will be happening over time because of strong foundation. Is there conception? There's conception, there's delivery, there's germination. So, but let me tell you this. So I was with the president. We have very good discussion with President Macron and his team. So in terms of dollars and cents will be enough. In fact,
that would be assured.
Dollars and cents will be announced. I want to give my colleague, the foreign minister, the opportunity to announce certain things. I don't want to jump the gun. And it's going to be good. In fact, I'm going to be signing an agreement with the French Development Agency. Maybe we're looking at maybe in a month's time for some support to community development in Liberia. You will hear it. So I'm waiting for my colleague to move first, the dean of the cabinet. Once she signs off, I will sign off. So we're not going to be in nickel and diming on what this person did or not, and then you compare. But let me say this. People can announce support to you. That's an announcement. But if you don't have the execution mentality, that's just an announcement. The French Development Agency here, one of their projects, some support, a $10 million project. When I came in, what did I see? 5% disbursement rate. 5%. So 95% of money committed, yes, have not been spent. Why? I don't want to get into the details.
No follow-up?
Well, please don't quote me. I will quote you. And look, and we're solving that problem. You will see the French development money, you will see it in communities. So you can go and get all the announcements. You can go ahead. Why are we dedicating more? Why do you see things happening more? You see now the overpass is being constructed. Didn't you see things? So you will see things, you will feel things. We are letting up the Southeast. From Buchanan to
the EU.
to the EU and African Development Bank for Cester City. You saw the line. Greenville, Buckleville. In fact, I was in the conversation with the EU ambassador. One of the projects that we are expanding is the what they call the Youth Rising Project. It is going to ensuring that each county of this country will have a vocational technical school. Each county. And let me, because somebody raised it, you didn't ask me the question here, concerning the 100 schools that should be constructed. While the project has not started, someone was trying to impugn my credibility that in July I was on a talk show and said it will soon start. Yes, I said that project, we mobilized almost 90 million from the World Bank. 30 million of that is grant, 60 million is financing. And that financing agreement needs to be ratified at the legislature. The legislature was on a long break. The legislature has returned. As soon as the legislature ratifies that, you know, the education minister will tell you when we'll start. I think it can start before the end of this year. So the ratification is just the issue. So many things. Some of these sectoral leaders, we are encouraging them, and you engage them. They will tell you the package, the support package. I'm just giving you this. I'm just giving you the surface, because even when it comes to renovation of schools, the MCSS school system, we're going to be renovating. Good amount of money in this budget. Oh, man. Okay. It's good you raise it.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that road.
It's good you raise it.
Where are we with that?
We are on course. That road is being funded through the consortium of Arab lenders, the Kuwaiti fund, Badea, the Saudi fund, and others. When we came in as a government, the road project had practically stopped. You saw that I led a delegation to Kuwait. And on that delegation with the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ibrahim Abakri Nyan, and then the Port MD, because the government of Liberia had taken a loan from the port, from the Kuwaitis, to do some expansion and procure some boats that the government was not paying. So the Kuwaitis were not making their payment for that project. Everything has stopped. When we renegotiated it, that project is on course. It will soon be reaching Saraye. And the stretch that we're talking about now will be Saraye to Konya and Konya to Vonchama. The Kuwaitis have made their own funding commitment. I will not announce it yet. We met the Saudi fund, we met Badea. In fact, the new president of the African Development Bank was president of Badea, and we engaged him, and Badea is going to give some support. So the financing for this leg from Saraye to Vonjama is being lined up. There's been some financing commitments already from the Kuwaitis. The Saudis have also made a commitment. Under the Pavi-Foot agreement that is under discussion at the legislature, consideration for approval, it will deal with the Vonjama Menikoma leg. So it is under the Pavi-Foot. But the leg we're talking about is from Saraye to Vonjama. Yeah. And so we're lining up the financing. This is not in this budget per se, but our obligation, our debt service obligation to these, because if you check in the budget, we are paying Kuwaiti fund on the debt side, because we took some loans from them for this road and others. The principal payment, the interest payments are not coming due. Previously, government was not paying, so they stopped. So
debt of the past is also tying your hands, if I may say.
Well, yeah, I don't want to use the word tying my hands, because it's an obligation that is necessary. Or not here. If the 230 million debt service, I say that we budgeted, the Kuwaiti fund is there. It is there in the debt repayment. If we don't pay them, the amount of injection they should give us for the roads, they wouldn't.
Okay.
So debt is not bad.
It shouldn't be demonized.
It shouldn't be demonized.
Let's start. The football people sitting in text increment in the budget for football sports. Also, the timber workers, the protesting, the war and economic crimes code, asset recovery.
Okay. Well, I think the soccer is our passion. the country's passion. It's also my personal passion. So no one needs to lecture us about support to the sector. The president, who is a ardent soccer supporter, sometimes I go there to talk serious economic issue, and he forces me to watch Arsenal matches. So yeah, but we have increased support to sports for a reason. My good friend, because if I don't call his name here, you'll say, every time I come here, I call his name. Andy Kwame is like an ambassador of the Ministry of Youth and Sports to the Ministry of Finance. Whenever Lone Star is playing, they come and they want money last minute of time. And most of the time, the money is not in the budget. We have to go to scrape here and there. So we gave them some money. Emergency money, they went, I think they beat Lone Star twice. So
and you pay for your own defeat.
So and they came and said, you keep making for us to pay for our defeat. Then luckily they beat the other game right here. Then he came laughing. He said, no, we have justified the money. So, but we'll continue to do more for sports. In besides sports, we have, through the president's directive, we have $4 million. The details have been worked for youth empowerment project. $4 million. We have some funds for employment promotion. We have put in some money for small business. I think it should be around 600,000 or a little more than that. We are getting the IFC, the National Finance Corporation, the World Bank. I was talking with the EU and others to put some money in, and we structure it. We intend to support all of these sectors. We give it some seed funding to help people like Liberia and some of the private sector organizations we have here. So, the budget is a big bulk. And some will just, without the reading, they will just take one appropriation. They say, oh, what is happening? Spend some time and go in detail. Coming to the asset recovery. Yeah, the asset recovery, we're funding them, next year.
But why is that reflected in
it's reflected in the budget. $2.3 million will go to asset recovery. We have war crimes code, I think, is above $1 million or so. One of the problems we face with asset recovery and war crimes code, for asset recovery, we have only 300. I think for war crimes code, I think we have only 300,000 for them. They came on stream late, and as a result, in this year's budget, they needed more than we had. All the money we had in the budget, we paid them. So the folks at war crimes code, even asset recovery, we have to supplement. They were not in the budget.
Is it because they are established through executive orders?
It's one of it. And for asset recovery, when they started, there was an injunction on them.
Yeah,
the court case. So a delay, we were doing the budget, the injunction was still on. Asset recovery came late when we have practically completed the budget. So we had to, this year's budget, we had to be scraping here and there to keep them going. What some people will ordinarily call off budget. Off budget. What is off budget? That's what I said to you the last time. Most of the things that people demonize as off budget, when they see these demonstrations going on, how do we solve the problem? The asset recovery, the war crimes code, I think we had on the same 400 or thereabouts for them. We paid. They need more. So we scrape it here and there to give them. So we talked with their leaders and told them, look, we are trying to tide over this year, but next year you are in the budget. And we'll work with the World Economic Crimes Code, work with international partners to attract more funding to the World Economic Crimes Code. Even the asset recovery. It is not only what we have given them here, we're working with partners to give them more support. So they're going to be operating on full throttle.
Okay, you're listening to the Super Morning Show. Minister Augustine Gafua is here. We are tearing the budget into part, also making sense of the MCC scorecard and other development issues as well. Minister, we can take calls. Okay, so call us on 0775 677 376, 0775 677 376. 0880514096, 0880514096. Let me inform you that this interview